Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Final Boss Podcast, episode number 33. Sensei is joining us. He's back. Big Mike is back. And we have a hell of a show for you tonight. Tonight's topic, navigating AI and emerging technologies in corporate America. And as Mike is our SME on technology, for those who don't know what a SME is, that's SME, Sierra Mike Echo. That's the subject matter expert. Add that to your book of abbreviations for ultra coolness. So, as our SME, we have a great topic tonight, and we're going to get right into it. And before we start, our normal disclaimer. This is for entertainment purposes only. And we're just a bunch of comedians and people, we don't know anything, people. And that's part of the introduction. This is for entertainment purposes only. So before we start, our first question, dealing with AI in corporate America and upcoming technologies. How has corporate America evolved with the integration of technology, especially AI, in your words, sir?
So the first thing we look at when we talk about that is you look at how does corporate America function, and the way it functions is things are based upon earnings and the bottom line, and return on investments and things of that nature. So what you end up seeing is if there's a tool out there that can automate something, it's going to be implemented. When it's implemented, what's going to happen to the workforce? It's going to be cut. I mean, look at when the cars were made by hand, and then
Right.
we developed the assembly line. So what
Mhm.
happened? Change the way things are done. So this is where we are right now. It's changing the way things are done. And in this country, we're being a service-based society. You're starting to see many services are being automated. And so how does corporate America deal with that? Is that they are pushing to adopt it in any way they can so that they can cut jobs. And the reason why they want to cut jobs is because that's the best place for them to make their bottom line better. So we saw the big exodus of tech from United States into India when we had all the call centers going up, and you call into a call center, you're not speaking to anybody from the United States anymore. And what happened was that that was a way to cut down the cost. Instead of having to pay a United States employee $75,000 a year, $100,000 a year plus benefits, which makes their effective wage about $125,000 to $130,000 cost for the company, you can
Mhm.
have 20 people working overseas for the same money.
Correct.
And those countries invested heavily into teaching their people. And so they invested heavily into teaching programming, teaching tech, teaching all these skills that are now outsourced to their country. So we have not been doing that. You go to schools and how much infrastructure is being developed towards and how much effort is being used in teaching our young generations technology. And I'm not talking about just using it like in playing games and things. I'm talking about actual developing, creating, managing, and being a viable workforce in that world. And
Mhm.
so we're losing that battle because our children come out of school with zero skills. They graduate high school and can barely read and write.
Right.
So you see, well, how's that corporate America being affected by that? Well, if they can't find qualified people to do the jobs and they have the opportunity to leverage AI to take over some of these positions, or at least a
Mhm.
portion of those positions, so one person can now do 10 people's job because they're using AI to get it done, where do you think they're going to go? That's where they're going to go. And it's just natural. There is nothing nefarious about it. It's just the bottom line. You
That's the
want to
bottom line.
know why things are happening, and we've said this many times in the past. Follow the money. You want to know why things happen. It's not nefarious. It's not that there's some evil person out there trying to cut quality jobs. It's about the money. You know, we keep doing things stupid in this country, like increasing the minimum wage. But if you increase the minimum wage and you think that it's a wonderful thing to do, then you're not too awful bright, because what happens when you increase the minimum wage, the guy making minimum wage is here at 7. You increase
Mhm.
it to 15. You think the guy making $20 an hour is going to get the same increase in wage?
Oh no.
He's got a pay cut, but
Yeah.
every cost of living and every goods and services is going to go up because of the minimum wage going up.
Right.
So it's a negative effect on the rest of the economy.
But
So
also with those minimum wage jobs, they're typically the first to go once AI is completely implemented.
oh yeah, well look what's happening in McDonald's.
Yeah.
Perfect examples of McDonald's, where
Mhm.
you walk into McDonald's nowadays and you have the stand right there. You don't order from a person anymore.
Right.
You can order right on the app on your phone, or you go right to
Mhm.
the kiosk and you order on a kiosk and then you get a number. So the number of staff at the McDonald's has dramatically decreased because the cost is too high and the
Right.
machine never goes on vacation,
Right.
and you don't have to pay health benefits for a computer.
True.
So I mean that's just numbers, right?
Yep.
You say, why were cars moving towards electric when our grid can barely support itself? It was because when the gasoline costs get so high that it's worth it to go that direction, then you go that direction. And it's just money. It's nothing serious. It's just the
Always
way it
about the
is.
money. Yep.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
So tech companies are changing their structure. They're adapting. Now they might not be as fast as small companies in adapting, but they're still adapting. And Microsoft is doing a massive investment. They are partnering with all the AI folks, and they're out there trying to get their early adopter foot in the door.
Mhm.
So they're moving things, huge moves with massive investments, so that they can be a leader in that world, so they're not left behind.
I was just reading an article. Um, One of the big three corporations, I don't remember if it was an Amazon or I think it was Amazon. They're in the business of purchasing a nuclear reactor to power their supercomputers
Mhm,
and their AI business structure
mhm.
that they're putting together.
Yeah, people don't realize how much power it takes to run these AI computers.
Mhm.
You know, it's you think AI is just being a program that sits on your computer. No, actually not. There's massive server farms that have to have massive processing power to process that data quickly. And
Right.
so it's a huge power draw. And you can see these server farms are just
Massive.
massive power
Mhm.
draws. Absolutely. And then cooling, they have to cool.
Yeah.
So there's all that going down. So it's a big deal. It's huge. It's happening in front of us as we sit here, and as we just go about our daily lives surviving.
Mhm.
The world is changing underneath our feet, like rapidly, like right now.
Right.
It's rapid. So how is this affecting corporate? So you say, well, what's the first thing we look at? We talk
Mhm.
about the jobs. We talk about jobs being cut. So okay, so what kind of jobs have been cut? Say, who's been cutting jobs, and what kind of jobs have they been cutting? So you look at companies like Intuit, Dell, um, massive layoffs. In 2024, I'm just looking here, Google, Meta, Salesforce, scaling back on all their human roles, Dell, Intuit, Microsoft, cutting different jobs to invest those jobs and those dollars into AI related jobs.
Right.
So you would have a job in one sector there, and they cut those out. Um, you're seeing so many other companies that are just companies you wouldn't think of. One is called Salesforce, which is a sales
Mhm.
management tool, which a lot of folks use, are cutting their 10% across the board.
Wow. I was
10%
going to
of
ask
tech
you that.
jobs are just going away.
Wow. 10%
And if
across the
you
board.
haven't, yeah, 10%, that's not a
Mm.
small number. When
No.
you're talking like companies that are tech layoffs exceed 130,000 tech layoffs in 2024.
Shh, man.
130,000 jobs,
That's
like
incredible.
tech jobs.
Tech jobs.
So
Right.
these are not cheap jobs. These are the good jobs. These are jobs that
Yeah.
people work real hard to get,
Mhm.
and they're just going away. So customer support, how many times you pull up and it's faster for you to do a chat to get a response than it is for you to try and call and wait in line for a person. Those are all AI driven.
Yeah.
So you're seeing that happen more and more and more. Unbelievably how much that's happening for automation. I'll give you another example. In Microsoft's really gotten heavily involved in this. Is a thing called DAX, and they are integrating for doctors' offices. So what occurs is that when you go to see the doctor and you want to sit and talk to the doctor, they have to create a note. The note's what goes to the insurance company, and they pay based upon the visit, but it has to justify the visit. Well, this system uses a phone, which has the application on it. And when you're talking to the doctor about your problems that are going on, and he asks you all the questions when you go into a doctor's visit, the entire conversation is recorded. AI interprets the entire both sides of the conversation and creates the entire note for the doctor that he can then edit it and submit his note. So he doesn't have to go in and type the notes and create the visit after he's visited with you. It happens live. So the doctors that are using this, instead of staying 2 hours or 3 hours after they're done visiting with patients, they actually get to leave work on time because their notes are already completed.
Wow, you're talking
So
about
it's an amazing tool.
Yeah,
enhancing how they do their job. And so we look at it from two perspectives. One of the perspectives we can look at this stuff from is what's corporations doing? What are corporations doing? How's that going to affect us? And then the other perspective you look at is, okay, what are we going to do about it? Because those are the two major factors, right? It's one to know that it's coming. You know that a hurricane's coming. Then and say, okay, I know a hurricane's going to come. It's going to hit in this area. Good, we know. But what are you supposed to do about it? And that's the important part, is to know, what are we supposed to do about this? So take a hard look at your job and what do you do? And if you have a question about it, go online and use ChatGPT or Poe, which is another really good tool, and ask it, in my industry, and whatever your job is, how is AI going to affect my industry in the next 5 years? And then ask it the question, what can I do about that so that I can guarantee my job is secure? How can I use AI to make sure that my job is secure? You know, history repeats itself and patterns repeat themselves, right? So when computers first came along and we were looking at using computers in the workforce, the people who used computers, it was a specialty. It was like, ooh, you're special.
Right.
And then it became so commonplace that now it's required that you have to have a base level skill set of using computers at a certain base level just to even get a basic job. So treat this the same way, right? Treat it the same way as saying, okay, I didn't use AI in my job, but now I have the capability of using it in my job, and here's how I can enhance my job. And look, you can, I constantly am bringing this up. I taught a cybersecurity class for a company for their annual cybersecurity, and I talked about AI, and I says, I use AI on a daily basis, and I says, I use it to develop policies and procedures according to state and federal laws. I use it to update policies and procedures, and things that used to pay tens of thousands of dollars to do, I can do in 10 minutes.
Right.
And so by using those tools, and I says, this is what we can do, and use these tools. And so they hit me up later on and says, hey, we've got these two contracts. One is the template one, and one is the filled out contract. We want to compare the two and see what the differences are in these contracts. So they had 24 contracts. They wanted me to review compare the two of them. Now imagine trying to do that manually.
Right.
Reading and looking and then making notes on each one at the differences, right? So I took 24 documents, did a full analysis using AI, and put it into a Word document for each one, and spit it out to them and had the whole thing done in half an hour.
Yeah.
And it would have taken days.
Definitely days.
It
if
would have
not
taken so much time. So
longer.
this are the types of things that you can do
Mhm.
to leverage these tools, to come up with a better way to do your job. That's going to guarantee you keep your job. So that's what you can do, right? And
Right.
we go a little more depth about these companies that are doing these layoffs. Many of the companies are doing layoffs because of AI, but they will not ever say it's because of AI.
No, we won't find out about it in years down the road.
If you even do.
Yeah.
Put your mic a little closer to your mouth.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit better.
Okay.
It's like you're a little bit quiet.
Mm.
So what's happening is that these companies are going to do the layoffs. They're replacing jobs, but it's also going to drive a creation of new jobs, right?
Right.
The newer jobs are going to be created because of them making space. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's not all doom and gloom, but you're going to have to be someone who can use these tools.
Absolutely.
And we don't develop and create programmers much in this country.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, okay, well, if that's the deal, we don't create that. How do you, as an individual, hone that skill set? Because you're going to have to find a way to hone the skill set, right? So look at the industries that are affected. Finance, that's hugely affected because
Yeah.
people that used to analyze, when you would ask for a loan, you have to have an underwriter. That kind of stuff can now be pushed over to AI.
True.
So you don't have to have people doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Healthcare,
Healthcare. Mm-hmm.
hugely affected. You're going to get to a point where you're going to be visiting a virtual doctor who's AI.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Definitely.
then what'll happen is you'll have your initial visit with an AI doctor.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you go through the process and they figure they have to do some more tests, they'll either get your tests scheduled and get them done. The AI evaluates the whole thing. Or if you actually have to physically see a doc to actually physically check you out, then you'll have someone who does that part of it. But the doc isn't going to do the whole thing. So in
Right.
10 years, medicine is going to be revolutionized.
I think almost every industry. We're talking service industry,
Absolutely.
hospitality,
Retail.
retail.
Look at how many businesses you see closing that were brick and mortar.
Mm-hmm.
They're closing down. Malls. Look at the mall debacle.
Yeah.
How many shopping malls have shut their doors?
How many Walmarts are closing? It's across the board.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's pretty wild to see how much it's affecting us. And I'll give you another example of how it's affecting us. There's a lot of companies who developed some of these really cool new tools, and they did a lot of things for remote work and things of that nature. Well, companies now want people to be back in the office. And the reason they do is because they found that they were losing their culture, their identity, their company identity, and their company culture. Because
Mm-hmm.
if everybody works remote and you're in front of a TV screen or a computer screen, that's all you are, then and you hire new people and all they've done is work in front of a screen, then how do you train them to be part of your company,
Right.
to act like they're part of your company? So companies have been making their employees come back to the office. So because of companies coming back to the office, we're seeing that big push. And you're seeing also COVID money is drying up.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a big push for money that was, we call it like back in the 80s when there's a big .com boom, and then they had the .com bust.
Right.
I'm going to call it the COVID boom, and now you're having a COVID bust. And what that relates to directly is that money that was there to do an initial investment into a product was there, but the ongoing cost funding was not. So companies could afford to buy a product, but they couldn't afford to keep the product
The
after
product.
the COVID money dried up.
True.
So you're seeing a lot of companies being faced with that. And
Mhm.
if you were in one of those startup companies, you're going to probably end up seeing your job go away
Absolutely.
because those companies are just going to end up just dropping off like flies.
Yeah. It's very similar to um, when IT sections of certain companies they upgrade their tech, servers, programs, applications, and they don't extend or buy a service contract to go along
Right.
with it.
Right.
Now you have this equipment and it
And
needs
who's supporting it?
maintenance. Say it again.
Who supports it? They'll do the
Yeah,
capital
who's
investment.
supporting
They'll
it?
do the initial investment and they'll buy it. But
Right.
then
They'll
who
buy it.
maintains it?
Yep.
And
Very true.
you're seeing Microsoft pushing really, 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 really hard to get you to move your networks into the cloud.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why they're doing that is because who can manage it? Look, there's a lot of management tools out there that are going to be AI enhanced or AI driven that will support that entire infrastructure. So they don't have to have individual support at the local level.
At the local
So it
level,
used to
right?
be you would have your server on your location and
Mm-hmm.
then you would maintain your own network. And so you would, all the support had to be at the local level. Well, that's changing now where it's all in the cloud.
Right.
And the companies are pushing really hard that you put your software, your network, your infrastructure, everything in the cloud. Well, the cloud is just somebody else's computer.
Mm-hmm.
That's all it is. It's not that it's something special. It's nothing
Right.
magical. It's just somebody else's computer somewhere else.
Yeah. It just make it sound cool.
They make it sound cool. It's a
Yeah.
nice thing. And everybody wants to go there and they don't realize how risky it is until it's too late. So if you're local with your data and you have sensitive data and you maintain your data locally, you can protect your data because you're a
Mm-hmm.
small fish.
Right.
But if you put your data in the cloud, a big fish. Who's the big target?
Yeah.
And who's going to be compromised? It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
It's a matter of when.
And if
Mm-hmm.
you push your data up in the cloud, it's considered compromise. Just already know it is going to be compromised.
I already know it.
And
Yeah.
and the reason why is because the companies don't pay for quality IT.
Mm-hmm.
They're making people who, instead of somebody who knows everything, they have individuals who know one piece and that's all they know. So now it takes 20 people to do the job that one person used to be able to do. But it's because it's becoming so complicated, it's becoming so divided. Everything's segmented.
Everything is segmented. You're correct.
Everything's segmented.
Yeah. That leads to this my next question. We've discussed a lot of challenges since the beginning of the discussion. In your opinion, what's the biggest threat companies face when implementing AI?
Oh, the biggest threat. You know, when you look at companies, you have to look at companies from what size of company.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because we have a lot of small business in this country. And we also have the bigger corporations. If you're looking at it from the picture of the big corporations, you can look at it from a certain perspective, but that perspective changes when you're talking about small businesses, right?
Right.
Less than 100 people, smaller companies.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, well, what's the challenge? What are we worried about? It's being left behind.
Yeah.
That's the big fear. The big
Yep.
fear right now in corporate America is being
Mhm.
left behind. Because if you don't adapt this and use it, your competition does.
Absolutely.
So I was talking to an individual that is working for a company that is facing that problem, that challenge of the COVID money going away, and their competition has already partnered with AI, a company who does AI. They've already
Wow.
done it. And so their model is already saying, and they're advertising it, we use AI to enhance our product.
Mm-hmm.
What's that do to the competition who doesn't do that? Right? They're going to have their throat slit because it doesn't
Right.
take long for people they're going to jump, man. People
Oh
jump
yeah.
ship. Then
They
they want
are
this new shiny object. If you got the
Mhm.
shiny coin, they're going to go your direction.
Correct. People before the show, uh, Sensei and I were having the same discussion as it relates to what we're talking about right now. And during each business boom, before the internet business boom, businesses like Best Buy, Fujifilm, Kodak all suffered tremendously because they were unable to implement a new business model going into the internet space, and they suffered tremendously. It's a lot of businesses that are it's going to happen. We're going to watch it happen, and Sensei is right on target with that statement. So
Yeah, it's going to happen. It's already happening. You're seeing companies that are just folding like crazy
mhm.
because they're not able to change the business model to adapt to the new world. Look at the number of small businesses that went under during COVID because they weren't able to adapt to the nobody's allowed to be in your building.
Oh yeah,
The
yeah,
restaurants that survived are the ones who did takeout, right?
yeah.
If you did takeout, you could
Mhm.
survive. And the ones who were able to adapt and flex and move that direction, they survived and they came out on the right side of it. But the
Right.
companies who weren't able to do that, didn't do that, they were done.
They were done for. Absolutely.
Yep. They were
Yeah.
they were done.
Mm. Yeah. There's a lot of hurdles out there that is crucial for businesses to establish these AI frameworks. And
Oh yeah.
yeah.
And in the small business world, you say, well, okay, I'm not necessarily in the big business where I'm going to have my massive competition doing this to me. But
Mhm.
if you don't use the tools to enhance what you're doing, if you don't use the tools to enhance what you're doing, and you have a product you sell, your competition is going to have a leg up. So even the small businesses have to leverage this. They have to become more efficient.
True.
HR departments are going to be hugely affected by this kind of
Oh
stuff,
yes,
right?
definitely, definitely, definitely. Yeah.
And if your
I,
small
I
business
completely agree.
doesn't leverage that,
Mhm.
your efficiency isn't there, and you can't keep up with the competition's already moved beyond that, and they're already on something new.
True. Like the
And you're
next
going to
big
have to
thing.
find
Mhm.
the next big thing or the niche markets and capitalizing niche market to become the business in the niche market. And there's going to be plenty of businesses that don't go away. The hard skills, the
Right.
plumbers, electricians, etc.
Mhm.
Those aren't going to go away because we still need infrastructure. But it's your other businesses that are going to be the ones severely affected. Look at the trucking business.
Oh
Okay,
yeah.
trucking business is affected by AI because now they have to be able to schedule and deal with regulations
Mhm.
and everything that goes with running a trucking company. You can very easily use AI to enhance that, which makes that company more efficient. And more efficiency means you stay alive when your partner doesn't.
Right.
Not partner competition, when your competition
Competition.
doesn't.
Mhm.
And I think you're going to also see a lot more partnerships happening.
Mhm.
You're going to see these companies that they partner, like Nuance, the one who did that Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is you could speak to the computer and it would dictate your stuff.
Okay.
Nuance has flexed hard into this AI world, and that's why they're partnering with Microsoft. So Nuance was a big player for years and years ago. And if you want to know how it grew, when you first had Dragon Naturally Speaking when it came out, it didn't work. It was slow, sketchy. It didn't translate properly. It just took too much power on your computer. It didn't work. But then computers got faster, and then it got smarter, and
Mm.
so they developed it to be more that you have a profile for your language and the way that you speak. And so what happens is that Dragon Naturally Speaking became much more advanced and much more fluid and efficient.
Right.
And then again, what's the next step for that, right? Moving into the AI, which they partner with a big powerhouse like Microsoft, and they both come up together. So those partnerships are what you're going to see happening. A lot of strategic partnerships are going to happen, and the big players are going to conglomerate naturally. So it used to be back in the day, we would say that Microsoft was like the Borg,
Mhm.
be assimilated or die.
Or die, right?
or die. So, and there's a lot of examples of that. Microsoft would either buy you out
True.
or they would put you under.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was the way it worked.
Or wrap you up in
Well,
litigation.
yep. And now what's happening is these big companies are now partnering.
Right.
Rather than try to buy out Nuance, they just partner with them,
Mm-hmm.
which is brilliant. But what it does is it consolidates the technology into, instead of being 10 options, you're only going to end up having 2.
Mm.
Look at the workspace. What are the 2 major workspaces that we see out there? You see Google Workspace
Right.
and the Office 365 workspace. Those are the 2 big players in that workspace. This is where
Right.
you have your documents, you have your
Mhm.
email, your calendaring, all the meetings that you do, all these things that you do, this collaboration, this communication,
Mm-hmm.
all these different facets are in that entire environment.
Environment space. Yeah.
And so since all that is in that space, you're seeing players that are being dropped off. Like GoDaddy was real big on web design and web stuff, and web. What have they done? They shifted to where they're a Microsoft partner.
Yeah.
So you go to Google, you go to GoDaddy with your web page, and you can now buy from them as a reseller your Microsoft Office licenses. So now you can use your GoDaddy interface to get to your Microsoft. So instead of them dying,
Yeah.
they pivoted,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're selling the product which Microsoft has. So what's
Right.
happening? You're consolidating again. You're consolidating your choices. So what we're going to see as people are less and less choice. And that being said, what do we do about that? What are the ethical considerations of that? Because when
Right.
you have choice taken away from you, what else do you give up when you're in those workspaces?
Mm.
You give up privacy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big consideration, right? So you're
Right.
going to give up your privacy if you're going to be in that space.
Well.
And then if your account is compromised, think about the repercussions of that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll give you an example. There's a service company who is pretty much does everything the small business needs to manage their entire facility and function and what jobs they do, and they tie it all together in this wonderful, beautiful package, but it ties into your Microsoft Office 365. So it's an add-on to Office 365. So what it does, it leverages your collaborative effect into this package, which is wonderful.
Okay.
But now what happens if your single Microsoft account gets compromised?
Everything gets compromised.
Everything gets compromised.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes a challenge now to how do we protect that resource? How do
Mm.
we protect people that we now have to make sure that they aren't as easily compromised? Look, if you're in the Microsoft space and you see somebody sends you a SharePoint document, you open up the SharePoint document.
Right.
But the scammers are using the SharePoint document as a way to send you a phishing attempt where they're trying to get you to put in your Microsoft credentials
Mm-hmm.
to open up this fake document. And if you do it, you just gave up
Your
your
network.
credentials to your big workspace.
Yep.
You see what happens now? You can compromise your entire company with one fell swoop. One dumb person in your whole company can now compromise the whole company
Correct.
with one thing. Tell me if that's not nerve-wracking.
That just gave me chills.
And these attempts are so sophisticated and they look
Oh yeah.
so legitimate. You know why? Because the bad guys are using AI to create them. So the bad guys using AI to create this stuff, and it
Mm-hmm.
looks real, then your unsuspecting user is going to do what? Open it up,
Open it up.
log
Yep.
in,
Mm-hmm.
and they just gave up their credentials.
Sure did.
Now imagine your entire company's main software runs in that world, and a low-end user just gave up their credentials.
Talking
So,
about headaches.
oh well, you can destroy your whole company.
Yeah. Absolutely.
that can be a blow to it can be a blow to the company they can't recover from.
Mhm. So, with that being said, those trends, as we see a lot of trends, and including future trends that are coming, what are some technologies businesses should keep an eye open for?
Well, the technology we need to keep your eyes open for, are so you can take advantage of it. Of course,
Mhm.
is you have to keep your eye out for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is huge. And the reason why cybersecurity is so huge is because everybody has to pay attention to it. So if
Mhm.
everybody has to pay attention to cybersecurity, then that means you need to pay attention to what's happening in cybersecurity so that you can be not left behind.
Right.
Because if you aren't protected at that level and a breach occurs, then that can be devastating to you. So that's the technology that I believe that most people need to really focus on. Don't get me wrong, automation is fantastic. Automation is great,
Mhm.
but automation is not a risk to you. Automation is not a flood coming. It's not a tornado.
Right.
A cybersecurity breach is like a tornado coming through your town.
Mhm.
So what I believe companies need to pay attention to and what people need to pay attention to is, how can I leverage tools which are using AI to protect me? Because what's the only thing going to protect you from a gun? A bad guy with a gun. What's the only thing that protects you? A good guy with a gun.
Good guy. Yeah.
Treat AI as the same thing. The only thing
Mhm.
that's going to protect you with AI, bad AI, is good AI.
Good AI. Yeah.
So you're going to have to find yourself the tools out there that you can leverage to protect yourself and protect your infrastructure. So be aware of those things. And
Mhm.
companies aren't really investing the money in upgrading their technology because it costs a lot of money. So if you're going to utilize an AI enhanced firewall or a next generation firewall, what happens? It's going to cost you money for that.
Oh yeah.
But if you don't invest in those things, then there's a possibility you might have a next generation attack.
But Mike, as you just made that statement, a lot of companies, infrastructure and and um backbone architecture isn't up to date.
Nope.
So we're talking they're already behind the curveball.
Oh, terribly so. And I'm talking, this is across the board.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Across the board. Companies will replace hardware when it fails.
Correct.
And if I've got network infrastructure hardware and it just
Hmm.
runs every day and we don't think about it, do we replace it? Nope. Because IT budgets are getting cut all over the place. The old saying I used to say in the Army when I was in the CAV unit was, it was called Army of Excellence, was the term they used for us. And we used to say that I've done so much for so long with so little that I can do anything with nothing. And that's what you're going to see, is you're going to see IT departments
Mm.
that are being faced with that. IT departments are supposed to be a percentage of the company. As far as, if you want to have a good solid IT department, it's supposed to be a percentage of your company. And if you have a different industry, depending on the industry, you have a higher percentage of IT. In
Right.
banking, you have a higher percentage of IT. In medical, you have a higher percentage of IT.
Hmm.
If you don't have that percentage of IT staff ratio,
Right.
then you're going to be left behind. You're going to be suffering.
Yeah.
And so that's what you're and companies don't pay attention to that because they are so bottom line that they can cut IT.
Yeah. And they don't have the bandwidth for the new AI integration. They just don't have it.
No,
No.
because the skill sets aren't being developed. You get
Right.
IT staff in there doing a job and they're so busy trying to survive with a limited staff that they don't have a
Hmm.
chance to learn anything new. They don't
Yeah.
have a chance to enhance or strengthen their network. And
True.
look at how many hospitals and these companies that are compromised. How the hell does that stuff happen? You know how it happens? Understaffed IT. They didn't invest the money in the IT to protect themselves.
Mm-hmm.
When I teach security, we talk about data and we talk about ransomware. That's a big thing that happens is ransomware attacks. And
Right.
how do you protect against ransomware? Multiple layered backups and redundancies,
Mm.
so that if something happens and you get compromised on one area, you have 5 different kinds of backups to restore. You never give them a penny. You just
Mm-hmm.
kick them out of your system, make sure your system is tight, and restore your data. And that's what you do. But if you don't have that infrastructure in place, or the people who have the capability of doing it,
Right.
you're stuck.
You're stuck.
And then you see the hospitals paying $21 million to the ransomware folks.
They,
And
yeah,
they still had no guarantee they got their data back. I mean,
exactly.
come on,
Yeah.
there's no honor among thieves.
Yeah. How should how should current and future employees prepare for a tech-driven corporate landscape?
Oh, that's a good question. So, because of the fact that companies like Microsoft, Meta, Cisco, Dropbox, all these big players are
Mhm.
laying off staff, and that's where the trend is going to be because we're pushing that direction. How do you get yourself so that you're not one of those?
Right.
Well, there are resources available,
Mm.
and you can take online courses. Harvard has an AI class you can take online for free.
Really?
Yeah.
Take notes, people.
You,
AI.
you, you can go
Wow.
online to Harvard and go in there and look up AI Harvard free, and
Mm.
they will give you a class on AI. And then
Good.
you start now looking around and find what other AI classes can I take,
Mm.
and start taking the online courses. So course COURSEA offers programs that are involved with Stanford, University of Michigan, etc. Course include things like machine learning,
Yeah.
deep learning specialization. Let me see what is it? AI for everyone. They have classes for this. So you can go out and learn
Mhm.
what's happening and at least have put your toes in it.
Right.
So then once you get into something, you learn, oh, I need to, this is the area I'm going to go. Because if AI is this wide, all right, and I know that I can choose 10 different pathways, once I put my toes in it and start to figure it out, then I can say, oh,
Mhm.
well, I'm going to go that direction with it.
Absolutely.
And then you can
Absolutely.
specialize in that direction.
Mhm.
There's one called EDX. They host university-backed courses, including MIT's Introduction to Artificial Intelligence with Python,
Wow.
Harvard's Data Science and AI offerings.
Okay.
A lot of stuff's free. UDACITY has a nano degree.
And nanotech.
A nano degree, meaning you don't have to
Oh.
go through a full-blown college program. It's a
Oh, okay,
nano
okay.
degree.
It's
It's
nano.
very, yep.
It's very small.
AI, one called artificial intelligence engineer.
Mm.
So you have these offerings that are out there
Mhm.
that are going to help. There's boot camps called Data Camp and Springboard, and they're offering immersive data science and machine learning boot camps, ideal for the hands-on experience if you need to do it.
Nice.
How to apply AI in the real world scenarios. So there's tools out there and there's resources out there like gangbusters. If you want to do one on a career transition, which is a big deal for people because I'm going to lose my job. They're going to cut my job. What do? I got to transition my career. General Assembly and Flatiron School offer short-term intensive courses on practical skills in AI, which
Mhm.
focus on career transitions.
Wow.
It's out there.
Okay.
Universities are offering specialized graduate programs, Stanford and Carnegie.
Mhm.
They even have class on AI ethics.
That's gonna be huge.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
There are AI libraries and platforms.
Okay.
There's one you can go online. Everybody knows about ChatGPT, right?
Right, right, right.
But there's one called Poe, Poe.
Mhm.
You should go check that out.
What's the acronym for? Do you know?
I don't know what Poe. I just know it's Poe is the website, Poe.com.
Okay. All right.
Um,
Sounds like
and
power over Ethernet.
that's what it does. It sounds like Power of Ethernet. But the deal
Yeah.
is it combines a whole bunch of the AI platforms that are out there and lets you ask your question, and it goes out there
Mhm.
and finds the answers from all of the platforms.
Oh, okay. All right.
So it's
It's
almost
like
like a
it's
data.
peer review,
It's
but
almost
AI.
yeah, it's like a data broker almost,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
There's self-study, open source projects. If you want to really get into this stuff, once you start learning a little bit, you can dig deeper. And
Hmm.
by digging deeper, you can go into resources like GitHub. And there's AI projects where you can experiment and contribute to the community in real world applications. Now that gives you experience.
Wow.
If you're working on a project that you're helping develop or use AI,
Hmm.
you can put that on your resume that you do that. Now
You know what
you're
we should do,
involved.
Mike? As a gift
Mm.
to our viewers, we should put that list together and add it to the conversation. So those who partake in it.
We can, what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and create and generate a list of resources that
Okay.
are
That works.
readily available for free or low cost learning for
Hmm.
AI. And then we'll spit that out and put that out there. That way you have a list of resources you can immediately just start looking through, start going through them, and
Yeah.
at least get introductions. If
Right.
you take some introductory stuff, you can at least have an idea about what's
What
happening,
what's happening? Yeah.
right? And
Absolutely.
and now once you start looking at that, um, there's books such as Deep Learning is one by
Hmm.
Ian Goodfellow and Machine Learning by Andrew Ning, which are excellent self-study resources. But here's the thing: if you've ever been in tech at all, you understand there's three things that matter: education,
Hmm.
certification, and
Hmm.
experience.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
So if you have two out of the three, you tend to get the interview.
Hmm.
All right. Now, back in the day when Microsoft had what's called the MCSE, which is a high level 7 tests you had to pass to become a secure a systems engineer for
Right.
Microsoft, certified in that. And in Spokane, Washington, was a company called Avista, which is the power company, and the people that hired there would equate an MCSE to a 4-year degree. If you took those 7 tests and had that certification under your belt, you had the equivalency of a 4-year degree
Right.
because you had to know the information to pass
Hmm.
those tests.
Yep. I remember that.
And all you got to do coming out of college is just show up.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of things that matter. Talking about that, IBM has an AI certification through Course A, which provides training with IBM Watson and AI principles. So you can get
Nice.
certified in it. Amazon and Azure, Microsoft Azure and
Sure.
AWS, which is Amazon, both offer AI machine learning certifications that validate knowledge in cloud-based AI development. Oh my God. Hello, what are the big players? Amazon is a huge player. Microsoft is a huge player. IBM is a huge player, and they offer certifications. So if
Nice.
you're certified in their stuff, you don't think that you have job opportunities?
You absolutely do.
Because you can show some kind of a background a little bit doing some stuff, and then you say, hey, I'm doing this, but I'm also
Right.
certified here and I work on this project over here. So that's the type of things that can get you ahead, that can get
Absolutely.
you so that you're not left behind,
Correct.
because that's what it's required. If you
Hmm.
want to be in this world, you're going to have to step up your game.
Yeah. You're gonna have to get ahead. Absolutely. Stay ahead.
Well, because you can't stay even with it, because
No, it's
it's
growing too
this.
fast.
Well, this is the time. Right now is the
Yeah.
time. The
Hmm.
time now is saying, look, I'm going to apply the same template to AI as we did to the internet. Remember when the internet first came out? If you were good on the internet and could do things on the internet, you were a valuable resource.
Right.
And then it became common and everybody had to have it. Same things happen in AI. If you're good in AI, it's a special thing right now. Get in there, get your niche, get yourself so that you're locked in, you're good, you're solid, you're the one.
Right.
And then what happens? It's going to become common knowledge for everybody else. But guess what? You've already been in it for a while and you are
Yep.
now the subject matter expert.
You got the building blocks.
You got the building blocks. You have
Yes,
become the
sir.
one that people go to answer the questions.
Hmm.
And it's not always knowing all the answers, it's knowing how to get the answers, or where to get the answers, and how to ask the proper questions, and how to vet the question to know that what you got was good. So that's I believe the path we're going with this is we're going the direction like an internet revolution. I think we're going the same direction with AI, that we're going to have an AI revolution.
Yeah.
and either you're with it or you're left behind. And if you're left behind, I have a feeling you're going to be really left behind. I can't believe I'm a boomer, okay? And I cannot believe the number of people in my generation that don't barely can even use a computer. And I go, okay, that's acceptable. You're boomers. But then I
Yeah.
look at Gen X, and what do I see? Gen X grew up with this stuff. It came
Yeah.
about when Gen X was growing up. Okay,
Yep.
so guess what?
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe the number of Gen Xers that are lost.
That's true.
And then I go, okay, how about the millennials? They need to be better. It's been part of their whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
You'd be surprised how many of the millennials only know how to run applications. They don't know how to fix or create or do anything. They only know how to use what's already there.
Yeah.
And then you look at the Gen Zs and these young kids coming up, and they know even less than the damn millennials do.
Well, there's a lot of surface learning. Everything's surface. Nobody's going
Nobody
top
teaches.
layer, bottom layer.
You
Yeah.
hear this thing. My kid is so smart. Blah blah blah. They know how to think outside of the box.
Right.
And I always say to that, there's only one way to think outside of the box, and that is to know the box. If I don't know the box, I don't know if I'm thinking outside of the box.
True.
That means you need to know the beginning, the end, and the middle. Otherwise, you don't know if you're in the box or out of the box. You're just you're doing what's called we call this in Security Plus. It's called fuzzy logic. And fuzzy logic is I throw shit at the wall and see what sticks. and so what you're seeing a lot of that kind of mentality with people is that these young kids don't know what works. They just throw shit at the wall and see what sticks.
True.
So they're dangerous.
Yeah.
Because they got no fear. And then what happens when guys like me, I've been around this stuff since the beginning. I have historical knowledge. What happens when guys like me go away? Who replaces that historical knowledge? Where is that sense of the knowing, right? And it is having that institutional memory, I call it, is the
institutional
term.
legacy. Yeah.
Where when the institutional memory goes away, what replaces it? And that's what we're lacking right now is the ability, because people's jobs are considered volatile and disposable. And so companies don't necessarily maintain their institutional memory.
Nope.
And I understand you have to be flexible, and I know you have to be able to adapt and overcome and do different things, but don't lose your culture. Don't lose what made your company a good company in the first place.
Right.
Because you're trying to save $5.
And a lot of companies aren't keeping up with these knowledge books. That
no.
Yeah.
No.
But
I believe we're going to go do that. I'll go ahead and get you generated out a resources based on categories.
Okay.
If you want to go to university and go that direction, that's one way. If you want to do self-learning, that's another way. I'm going to list out some of the different certification pathways, or what are resources you can use to get certified. And then once you look into those, you can look at and say, not only this is what I need to get certified, meaning I have to pass this test, but what are the tools I need to do to grab to learn that skill to pass that test?
Right.
Because you can't just pass the test. That's no good for you. You have to know the skills. You have to understand what you're working with.
Absolutely.
And so we'll spit out some good stuff that folks can tap into as resources which are available. I'll do that as soon as we get done with this podcast. I'll go ahead and create a couple of resource links and get at least a framework of, okay, if you want to do this, here's some places to start. Because you have to put your toes in the water.
Got to put your toes in the water.
And my suggestion is do things like this, okay? Stop watching TV. The hour you spend watching TV, why don't you spend that hour learning? You come home and you eat your dinner and you watch TV for a couple hours. Why don't you take one of those hours and learn something?
Right.
Increase your skill set.
Absolutely.
Do that. And if you do that for all week long, what happens? You got 5 hours
of training.
You got 20 hours in a month.
Yeah.
And in 5 months, you got 100 hours of training. Now you're talking about making some progress without killing yourself.
The next thing you know, you got 10,000 hours in and you're an expert.
And then you become an expert. So if you can move that direction and start enhancing what you do, even in your, and you say, I don't know where to start or how it's going to affect my life. It's not difficult to ask a couple of questions. So
Right.
how is AI affecting my job in the next 5 years?
Yeah.
What can I do to enhance my job?
Mm-hmm.
And you can list out your job description. I work for this kind of company. This is the name of the company I work for, and this is what it does. And this is my job title in that company. What can I do in the next 5 years to enhance my position and make sure that I still have a job? Ask the question. It's not
Ask the
like
question,
the
people.
system's going to give you an answer. It's going to lay it out.
Yep.
Here's a game plan. Here's a roadmap. Once you
Mm-hmm.
have the map, if I tell you, look, you're in DC, and I tell you, I need you to go to Seattle, and you go, okay, I'm going to Seattle. The first thing out of your mouth should be, where am I? Because you can't go somewhere unless you orient yourself. This is
Right.
north, that's south, that's east, that's west. Then you ask the question, where is Seattle? How am I going to get there? How
Mm-hmm.
much time do I have to get there? What's the most efficient way to get there? Has anybody else ever taken the trip? If somebody else has already taken the trip, why don't I ask them how they got there? And then I know, oh, you want to stop in St. Louis. There's this great burger joint, it's the best hamburger in the whole country. While
Mm-hmm.
you're making your trip across, stop there at this place for this burger. Leave at this time of the day because you avoid this much traffic. Take this route because you avoid construction.
Right.
That's just a map.
Yeah.
So if you want to learn something, ask the questions and then generate the map and
Yep.
then print out the map or
Mm-hmm.
save it and then make it part of your daily life, that you look at your map every day and go, where am I in relationship to my map?
Right.
And as you're making the journey, update the
Mm-hmm.
map. So now you have something which is in front of your face, which is guiding you towards your goal, and you have the steps you need to hit and the high points, and ask the questions as you go. And if it changes, then so it changes. There's a detour up ahead because the bridge just got washed out. Okay, good. We're going to go another direction, but
Yep.
we're still going to end up in Seattle, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you will find success in your career, and this is how you will find growth in your professional development. Is find a goal and go there. If you say my goal is that I want to be in the next 3 years or 5 years, I want to be an AI, not expert necessarily, but I want to be good enough at AI that I'm valuable.
Right.
So set your goal that's achievable,
Mm-hmm.
and then at that point, pick your path, dip your toes in it, and in the process of doing it, you're going to find out what you're going to be good at. You're going to find your path. You're going to find your journey. And as you find your journey, you enhance it, make it better,
Mm-hmm.
and learn from those around you who have done it before. And if it's brand spanking new, even better. Be a pioneer, blaze the way.
Right.
So 5 years down the road, you're in this new field that nobody else got into, and you're now
Mm-hmm.
the man. You are the
You're the
one.
man. Right. You're the one.
You're the one.
Yes,
I've
sir.
learned in my career field, what I've
Mm-hmm.
done is I have become a translator. And I translate from technology to plain language. If I explain you a technological term, I explain it in plain language. That way,
Mm-hmm.
it's a technical thing I'm talking about, but I'm explaining it to you in a way you understand and you'll remember. And if I can do that, if I can relate to something that you are familiar with, and I can teach you this skill set and it overlays that, you'll always remember it.
You always
So
remember.
I've been able to do that. I
Mm-hmm.
stay on top of technology and I can speak plain language. Look, if you're a business owner and you have a decision to make, I will give you all the options, but it's your decision. And I've explained it to you in a way that you're going to know this is the direction I need to go with my company. And you make the decision. It's your choice. Do you want the Volkswagen? Do you want the Toyota? Or do you want the Cadillac? Which one do you want?
Right.
And if you say, well, none of those are good enough, then all right, it's time for us to go with a semi. We need a Kenworth or a Peterbilt. Okay. But at least we have choices. And the owner of the business understands the repercussions of going
Either
with
way.
each
Yeah.
pathway.
Mm-hmm. Each pathway.
Do we either go there all at once or do we do it in phases?
Right.
And by doing that, I have found a niche that I'm always going to be valuable because you always need someone to translate and stay on top of the technology and be able to put it in plain language.
Yeah,
And that's a big skill.
absolutely. Absolutely. Been able to translate technology into plain speak for people who don't understand technology. That's a big skill.
Look at what we've
Definitely.
done in this podcast. We've done that.
Yeah,
We've done a lot of plain speak,
we have. Definitely have.
and it helps folks to understand um, these complex thoughts and these complex uh, systems in
Uh-huh.
common terms.
Correct.
So we got more to go. More to go.
We
We'll
got
do.
more to
We'll
go.
do. We'll do some
So
more.
I hope everyone has taken a decent or a fair amount of notes regarding our subject tonight, business, corporate America, and AI. Some of the key points that we've been discussing were the importance of AI, the adaptability, ethical considerations, and the potential of AI and emergency technologies shaping the future of not only corporate America, but small business as well. In closing, I want to thank everyone who's watching, who's just coming on board, who's been with us since the beginning. We thank you for your support, and we want you to go out there and like, share, and subscribe, people. Like, share, and subscribe. A lot of changes coming. We just finished up with episode number 33. And
Awesome.
episode number 33. Big changes coming with episode 50. And then from there, once we hit episode 100, got more on the way. But we're going to provide some information for you. If you have any questions, please email us at info@thefinalbosspodcast.com. One word, one sentence, all together. You can also hit us on social media on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And for some of those who are on our StreamYard, we're on StreamYard. It's a great tool. There would be if you're interested in hosting a podcast or having a setup similar to this on this platform, there will be links attached to the end of this podcast. And that is going to be our show tonight. Sensei, do you have any words that you want to close with, sir?
As you were doing the closing, I already found all the resources in all based on categories. We did the entire thing. I chatted it out. I'm going to toss it to you in a Facebook message. You can then post it everywhere.
Boom.
This is broken down. Everything we just got done talking about, we want to do the whole
Okay.
thing. And
Man,
I am
that's
sending to
awesome,
you in
sir.
5, 4,
4,
3,
3,
2,
2,
1.
1.
It is sent. You now have all what we just talked about for the resources that people need,
Oh,
broken
wow.
down in categories, everything from free to low
Yeah.
cost to self-learning to certification programs, all of it. Just popped it at you. It's there.
Oh, man. That's how you use AI.
That's how you
People.
use
That's
AI.
AI.
As we're talking about it, we're doing it.
We're doing it. We're doing it at the Final Boss, people. We're doing it. And that's going to be our show for tonight. Feel free to hit us up again. Thank you for tuning in, and stay tuned. More business and conversations on business on the next couple of episodes. So see you then, Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. We love you. Let's go. Boom.